If you've ever wondered how to go about putting your course together, creating a movement or mission around your topic, or how to price your course, then stay tuned because we'll be covering all of this in today's show. Welcome to the Recognized Expert Show. I'm Demelza and I'm here to help you go from the unheard course creator to the recognized expert in your space. So if you're an online course creator wanting to increase your impact, influence, and income, you are in the right place. Let's get started. Now, if you're watching this live, then please hit the like button and say hi in the comments. And if you're watching the replay, then it would still be nice to hear from you too. I will be in the comments to interact with you while we're live, so I hope to see you in there as well. Now, before we dive into today's interview, here is this week's top tip, which is how to create a mission around what you do. Now, when thinking about your customer journey and your messaging, we're familiar with coming up with a statement such as, I help this person to do this thing without this problem or whatever it is that they don't want. However, I think it can be a lot more effective if you can create a kind of movement or mission around what you do that people can really get behind. Now, that may seem great, but how do you actually do that? So what helped me was to actually name my avatars before and the after transformation. So who are they before they go through your course, and who are they afterwards? How would they self-identify? So for example, my ideal client would be the unheard course creator. So that would be how they would self-identify. I'm an unheard course creator. My course isn't getting out into the world. People don't know me, all of this kind of thing. And they want to get to the recognized expert. They want to be people that are the go-to people in their space. If someone wants to take a course on the topic, they want to go to you, right? So they want to go from unheard course creator to the recognized expert. And that's something that they can really rally around and be like, yes, that's what I want. I want to be in the recognized expert club. And it's a mission that they can get behind. So think about your customer and the journey that they're going through. Where are they at right now? How would they self-identify? And how would they like to identify? What is the end point of their journey that they would like to achieve? And that might actually give you some clarity in terms of your messaging, your marketing, just your overall business strategy as a whole, as well as, like I said, creating a little bit of a mission that your audience, that your students can really get behind and desire to achieve for themselves. Now, today's interview is with Deborah Barnes. She is a learning strategist and course consultant, and we're going to be talking about how you might want to go about creating your actual course. So, hey, Deborah, thank you for coming onto the show with us and sharing with us your topic. And I was wondering if you could just give us a little bit of backstory as to how you got into this and why it's important for us to know this information.
Certainly. So I have a background in learning and development. I've been in the learning field for about 15 years. I actually started my first job after university as an ESL instructor. Mm-hmm. I didn't know what else to do, so I just started to do that because it was good money. And in that experience, I discovered that I really loved teaching. So I did it for about 8 years, and then I wanted to explore other options, and I went into corporate training. So corporate training was super fun. I got to design workshops and facilitate various seminars. Excuse me. And then it just kind of grew from there. I learned about a career path called instructional design. Okay. And I don't know if you know what instructional design is, but it's essentially the way that you design learning experiences. And this is in workplace environments or higher ed. So an instructional designer will look at how people best learn. What is, the adult learning principle behind certain, things that you want to teach, and using those principles to, build engagement and just create fun learning experiences. So I chose that career after, going through different jobs, and I really loved it. And I guess I did that for about 6 years. And near the end of my last year, I started to feel really burned out. Especially as COVID hit. I was working in a large corporation here in Canada, and there was an extreme amount of pressure to get all of the in-person training online. And I was working brutally long hours, and my daughter was home, and I was homeschooling, the whole thing, right? Everyone knows what that was like. And I was like, that's it. I can't do this anymore. And I saw people around me doing courses, writing courses, and I thought, I can do that, right? I can design courses. So I thought maybe I can help people. And so I started my business in October, and I'm a learning strategist and a course consultant.
Nice. I mean, it sounds like it's a really needed field. And as much as obviously course creation is basically creating a learning experience, and to be able to create a positive and fun and engaging experience is
Yeah.
something that not everybody knows how to do. It's like we know our stuff, we're professionals in or experienced in what it is that we're doing. But to be able to teach that and create a learning environment, it's really important that your students are going to really get the most out of that content and be able to achieve the transformation that they're looking for.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah, it really is about the transformation. So I know a lot of people, I don't know if your audience is aware of it, but when you go and you listen to other people talk about course writing, the number one thing that we talk about is the transformation. So there is a destination that your learners are heading toward. That's why they have bought your course. That's why they want to take your course, and they see your course as that, the way. So yeah, that is the principle of instructional design too, is like, how are we going to get them to that final destination?
Great. So can you give us some tips on how to do that?
So it starts with the beginning. So I'm going to say that the gathering of your content, I mean, I know that we all start the same way. Some of us do post-it notes. Some of us do like a whiteboard or, maybe just scrap paper. Whatever you do, it's all fine. But there's a couple things that I could maybe add to that, maybe to, bring more perspective. So when we're looking at our post-it notes and we're trying to create or gather all of our content, we want to be thinking about, of course, the knowledge, and we want to be thinking about the skills. And there's also the tools. So is there any new tools that your learner will be using? So any new technology? So those are things that sometimes get forgotten. And so if you're looking at, for example, a course about creating a budget, and you have a couple of apps that you want them to use. So that kind of information, you need to think about that in your course. Like, how are you going to introduce that information? Is it going to be something that you're going to develop? And so when we're doing that content gathering process, we want to like unload all of that information as much as possible. And then to go further, and this is the one thing that I love, is I do a sort of a three-step thing called KWL. So K means what they already know,
Okay.
W means what they want to know, and L is what they will learn. So when we filled out that K section, what they already know, you want to record what you think your learners will already have when they come into your course. So why is this important? Because you need to know, you have to have that awareness of like where they're starting from.
Right.
And if you have a lot of content in there that you think they should already know how to do this, but I'm not entirely sure if they do, what do you do with that? You can put it into a resource document. You can make a checklist. You can make a cheat sheet. You could do some sort of takeaway, right? And just add it as like a buffer to your course. So it's not something that you need to focus on because it's not, the target for your course, but you do want to add that value.
I've heard that one option as well to use that information as your lead magnets and
Oh, yeah.
lead up to getting people into your course. So you've got your main course content, which I'm sure you're going to get to, but anything that is leading up to that, which you need to make sure that they have that in advance.
Yeah.
Um,
That's a really great idea,
then you
actually.
can use
Yeah.
lead magnets or, a little mini course or something to kind of draw them into your world beforehand.
Yes. Yeah, that would be great. I mean, depending on the content, yeah, you could choose if you wanted to make a workshop out of it, or you could just do a lead magnet. It's good. And the other thing so with the W column, so we did the K and then we have W. So this is where all of that knowledge and skills, all of that content is. This is what we want them to learn, right? Or sorry, what they want to learn, pardon me. And in that column, there might be things that they want to learn that are not actually the target for your course. Like you might discover, my audience is really interested in this, but I'm not the expert. I don't think I actually want to talk about it in my course. I'm not passionate about it, but I know they want it. So what do you do with that content? It's really great to put it into as a bonus, like make a video about it, a short little module that's like a bonus. So it's not something that is like inherently part of your learning outcomes, but they're like an added value.
That sounds good.
Mm-hmm. And so, sorry, the last column, the L column is what they're going to learn. So basically that's just you take that W column, which is what they want to learn, and then you subtract that from what they're going to learn, and that's where you get your bonus content, if that makes sense. So it's like what they're actually going to learn versus what they want to learn. And if
Right.
there's anything in there that's like standing out, you're like, oh, they want to learn this, but it's not what they're going to learn
Okay.
in my course, and you can
Yeah.
use that for your bonuses.
Right. I think that's important because we've got a lot of information that is helpful and they want to know information that may not be as helpful as they think it is. But being able to use the combination of those two things and actually have a use for them, like you said,
Yeah.
in bonuses or as lead magnets or as other aspects of the course process, but not necessarily in the course itself. It makes use of those things without distracting from the main purpose of the transformational
Yeah.
journey that you're wanting them to take in your course.
Yeah. 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 For example, for me, I'm writing a course right now, and in that column where it's like things that people want to know that I'm not going to teach. For example, people love to talk about hosting platforms and they want to know so much about it, but I'm not an expert. I have some knowledge, right? I've seen the back end and the front end of a couple. I know that, the drawbacks and benefits, but I'm not really the expert. But I could make a bonus out of that.
Yeah.
I can create a comparison sheet. I could maybe do a couple of examples, a couple of screen shares of them, right? I don't have to be the expert in it, but I can provide that.
And another thing as well, if you're not an expert in something, but they're wanting to know that, you can ask somebody who is an expert to come in and do an interview or have a little bonus session at the end of
Absolutely.
something. And then they can actually use that to tie into potentially their course. And depending on their course, and if
Yes.
they have an affiliate system, you can actually maybe earn affiliate commissions
Yeah.
through the process. So
I love that.
there's definitely different ways.
Cross-pollination.
Yeah, exactly. Support each other and provide the value that people are wanting. Ultimately, we want to all be working together. Obviously, we're trying to run a business and earn an income from our families, but we also want to provide value. And the person who's receiving that value is going to be more benefited. They're going to get more value if you are offering these different things to them that they want.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, absolutely.
Great. So is there a next step after that? That step that you've just shared?
Right. So I'm going to say that after you do the gathering of the content and you've determined, what is your essential, content versus bonus content. Once you have all that essential content, what I like to do is look at, I weigh it actually. I have my own personal rating scale, and I look at things such as how important is this content? So when I say important, I mean like relevant. So to the learner, like how important is this to their day to day? I also look at frequency. So how often do they need to use this information? So if you are, if you have a course about budgets and it's about, there's something about like saving, I don't know what it would be, but saving a certain amount of money, as a skill that you want to develop. How important is that to your learner? It's probably really important, right? And how frequently do they have to do it? Probably really frequently. And then the third thing that I look at is difficulty. So not necessarily how difficult is it to do it, but how difficult is it to learn?
Right.
So some things are really easy to learn. So that would be like a lower value to me, a lower scale. So I look at all of those things and I come up with kind of a rating for every topic. If it has a high score, then it should be given some more time in your course. If it has a low score, then you don't need to spend 10, 15 minutes on there, maybe only 8 minutes or 5 minutes, and use the other remaining time for those topics that have like a higher value.
No, that sounds
So
like a good idea.
yeah,
But
it's
good to
kind
ask.
of like Sorry, I was cutting you off. It's kind of it's when I work with new course writers, they're often kind of like confused by that. They're like, well, I thought all of my modules had to be the exact same length. For example, my module 1 is 10 minutes. My module 2 is like 12 minutes. My module 3, and everything's balanced. And because it looks better, right? And it feels even and it feels just, I don't know, we like that balance there. But the truth is that your audience doesn't need a module 1, like an introductory module, to be the same as like your meat and potatoes, right?
Right.
And then using that rating scale, I also look at where you place your content.
Okay.
So if you have really heavy content, so content that's high on the scale, you want to scatter it out as much as possible. So you're not, weighing down, the beginning of the course, for example, with all of this heavy content and, long modules, because your learners are going to lose interest. And then you also don't want to save it for the end, right? Because they might not even get there. Sometimes that happens too. So
It's amazing how many people don't actually finish courses. So
yes,
this kind of thought that goes into designing the course is really important to maximize the potential of your student actually going through the entire thing.
yes, absolutely. And that's partly why I weigh my topics. Like I said, I don't want people spending 12 minutes creating an introductory module. And I've seen it many times. And it's not terrible, but if you're doing that and your next module is also 12 minutes and it's like the meat and potatoes of your content or of your course, you might want to rethink how you're distributing your timing. Because our learners, as much as we like think that they are like totally engaged and that they love us, they do, but they don't have the time anymore to sit through 12 minutes of introduction, right?
Yeah, as I understand it, people want fast and easy, and if you can deliver that, whatever the content is, in a simplified and fast way for them to accomplish their goals, that's what they want.
Yeah, the most efficient way possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Great. Well, that's really super helpful. Is there anything else that you would suggest, or what would be the next steps that you would recommend?
So I would begin with, if you are a lot of people are still at that content gathering process and not sure, do I have enough, or, where do I even begin? I would begin with some sticky notes, and also do that KWL to get your brain going. And I would also just start researching the topic. I know it sounds odd because you're the expert, but once you start like going on to, you can go on to forums, look at Facebook, look at various groups, what people are asking, it'll start to spark some, inspiration, and be like, oh, right, I know about that. Oh, I can talk about that. So get that going, do your KWL, and I would say that's, a good place to start.
That sounds really good. So where can people find out more about you and maybe work with you further or anything like that?
So I'm really active on Instagram. I don't know if anybody else here is on Instagram, but I love it. So you can find me. My handle is DB_learning solutions. And yeah, that's where you can find me. I have a link there in my bio to help you with your brainstorming. So that's I think it's called Brain Dumping Guide. That's what it's called.
I like
So
it.
that's just the link in my bio.
Great. I think a good brain dumping session is an essential when it comes to
Yes.
creating courses.
Yeah.
So, that sounds like a good guide to go and get. Well, thank you so much for coming and sharing your knowledge with us. And I encourage you to go out and check out this guide that she's offering. And yeah, thank you again. So what did you think of that interview? I think my biggest takeaway was her KWL framework of what they already know, what they want to learn, and what they will learn, and how to still make use of the content that may or may not be the best fit for the actual course. So using the content in the bonuses, for example, I think that was really helpful. I think it was also helpful how she shared how to allocate time to the different portions of your course. So those things which have a higher priority and therefore more time devoted to it, and vice versa. So I think that's really important to keep in mind as you're creating your course, is where do you put that weight or emphasis? And let us know in the comments, what was your biggest takeaway and what is your plan to implement this week as a result? Okay, so let's dive into one of the questions that you asked me. Now, Varun Agrawal, I hope I haven't butchered your name, I'm sorry if I have, but he asks how to price a course. So first of all, what is the value of what you're offering? So are you offering a shortcut or a step-by-step process? How are they going to feel once they finish your course? And another thing is it a business or is it a hobby? Because if it's a business, then you can charge more because people are going to make money from it. If it's a hobby, then they're probably not going to get a return on their investment financially, but it's going to be something that they enjoy. So it still has a lot of value, but you may not be able to price it as high as, say, a business course, for example. Another thing to think about is, what is your ideal client's budget like? So are they in the higher income bracket or are they in the lower income bracket? If you are targeting higher income people and you have a low priced course, they're probably not going to take much notice of it because they're going to assume, it's probably not that good. Whereas they're more likely to pay the premium price thinking that the content is going to be that much better. But if you charge a premium price and your audience is in the lower financial opportunity range, then they're not going to be able to afford it. And it's just going to be something that is out of their reach. So really think about who your ideal client is and then think about your pricing in relation to that. Also, when you're thinking about that, you do want to consider that higher prices tend to have more value to them. So for example, if you were to get a $50 course or a $1,000 course, maybe you get them at the same time. So on the same day, you bought a $50 course and a $1,000 course. You're probably thinking, I'm going to wait on the $50 course. I can just put that on the side and wait for that. I'm going to focus on the $1,000 course because that was a higher investment. So I want to really get my money's worth out of that. And the $50 course might not even get done. So just think about the value in terms of the perceived value of your course in terms of that as well. Another thing to think about is you can add bonuses as well. So instead of lowering the price, you can add extra bonuses to make the value of the price that you're charging look really valuable. And then also think about, what stage are you at in your business? So if you are just getting started, you might want to start with lower prices so that you can attract more people to take your course or your coaching calls or whatever it might be, and then get those stories and testimonials coming in, and then you can use those stories and testimonials to sell the course later, and then you have a lot more credibility and you can charge the higher prices because you've got those stories and testimonials behind you. And another thing to think about is, how does your course fit into the big picture of your business? So are you creating a starter course, like a mini course, or are you creating a signature course, which is like the big kahuna of courses where everything is packed into it? A signature course might require 1 or 2 launches a year, and maybe the starter course or the mini courses are available as evergreen. So depending on the type of course as well is going to determine the value and therefore the price. And finally, I think it's important to think about, what would they be paying elsewhere if they don't take your course, or what would be the financial repercussions if they don't take your course. So for example, if someone is a relationship coach and they can help a couple not go through divorce, then they're going to save them a lot of money and a lot of relationship heartache and all of that kind of thing. In my case, I teach video production. Well, you could go to YouTube and get free videos and figure it out by yourself, which will take more time. Plus, you don't know that you're actually getting all the information that you need in order to produce a quality video. But the other option would be to hire somebody, and that could cost a lot of money to bring somebody in to record your videos all the time. So where would be a nice middle ground? That would be where the course fits in to help you know exactly what you need to include in your course, how to do it, without having to figure it out all by yourself and taking all the time to do that, without also paying the high fees of having someone else to come in and do it for you. So just think about it in the context of your topic. How are you saving them money or time or resources or emotional heartache or any of those kind of things? And then think about what they would have to pay elsewhere to achieve the results that you can provide in the course. Now, if you would like your questions answered on this show, please send me a DM on Instagram or Facebook, or tag me with your question and I'll aim to get it answered on this show or with you directly. Now, as course creators, there's a lot that makes our business run effectively, so I like to recommend some of my favorite things as a course creator business owner, and today's recommendation is Evernote. Now, in last week's show, I actually mentioned how I use Trello to help keep me organized with a lot of my business stuff, but Evernote actually has a big part to play as well. And in fact, I sometimes joke that my life is on Evernote because that's where I have my command central. And it's where I keep track of my goals for the day and for the week and for the month. So literally everything is in one note so that I can refer to exactly what needs to be done and make the most of my time. Is what really has helped me to accomplish so much despite having a 3-year-old at home a lot of the time and doing more or less everything by myself. I've been able to make huge amounts of progress because I use my command central to keep track of my goals and accomplish everything. Evernote can help keep track of notes. So if you've got your courses, you can put all your notes for your courses in there, your marketing, YouTube notes, so keywords, ideas for YouTube videos, all those kinds of things. You can draft out your emails in there, write your scripts, your sales pages, all of those are ideal for creating in Evernote, and keeping templates for different responses, or your notes for coaching calls, your launch plans. All of those kind of things go in Evernote. I think it's just a really good place to have everything put together. And it's actually where I ran pretty much everything on my business. I have since kind of split it up between Evernote and Trello because ultimately I want to be able to hire team members and I want them to have access to my procedures and systems and some of the assets that they need. And in order to do that, I feel like Trello is the best place for that. But before that, I had everything on Evernote. So whether you use Trello or Evernote or a mix of the two, I definitely recommend both of those software in order to keep track of your business goals and keeping everything running smoothly. Okay, so before I wrap this up, let's do a quick recap. So today's tip was how to refine your mission and your messaging. You heard from Deborah Barnes, a learning strategist and course consultant, on how to design your course. I answered Warun's question on how to price your course. My recommended tool this week is Evernote, and to wrap this up, the action step I encourage you to take between now and the next show is to do the KWL exercise that Deborah mentioned and to research your topic to see what people are asking. Now, next week, I will be interviewing Sophie Zollman, who is an online business manager, on the topic of what is best to focus on when you're getting started with your course business so that you can achieve faster results. So be sure to subscribe if you haven't already so you don't miss that, because it's a really good one. And thank you for tuning into the Recognized Expert Show. And for access to any of the resources mentioned in this episode, be sure to check out the show notes on the YouTube version of the show, which can be found at youtube.com/Demelza Marie. And if you found this show helpful, I'd love for you to share it with others who you also think might find it